sheds, people further down maybe the road, lost a house.
In comparison to our Victorian counterparts, I think we've been quite lucky to keep a cap on COVID.
Is that the beginnings of one there?
That's it. We're up and running. You just see them coming through there.
The brew club just keeps rocking up and making the most exceptional beers, extraordinary meals, and having some good times.
We've done a really big renovation, so we've pretty much tripled in size. Look, anything's possible with a venue like this and the size and the layout. It's really exciting.
How much more confident are you with this one? I found it more confident, as confident as you can be doing this kind of thing.
But it's just experimental.
It's experimental, you see how it goes.
I think that's, it might be people feeling sorry for us.
Move the brewery down there, so we've sort of all almost outgrown this site.
It's more, I like to tweak things up a little bit, change it up.
From paddock to pint. How's that? We should market that. Should we market that? Thanks, fellas.
Although COVID restrictions were still lingering, Brisbane's healthy craft beer scene remained a drawcard for out-of-town brands and regular stops for the Hop On Tour roster that kept their attendees coming back for more.
Yes, repeat clients. Yes, we do have repeat clients. We've had a few people that have come back 3, 4, 5 times, which is the best feeling in the world. The fact that we are doing something that people want to experience again. Usually it's a different tour, so maybe they've done one in Brisbane, they're down on the Gold Coast. To us, the idea that they've thought about us, even if they did a tour 3 years ago and said, oh, you know what? I remember we had such a good time on that. Let's do it again and check out one of their other tours. It's an absolutely amazing feeling. It's really exciting. We have to make sure they don't answer all the questions at the beginning when we give them a little pop quiz because they know all the answers. But repeat clients, or even just that word of mouth. So somebody does a Bucks party with us, and then you might have Jono, who is on the Bucks party, who's having his own Bucks party, and he decides, oh, we had such a great day out that we're going to do that again. So that kind of telling friends, telling family, it's the best. When we see those names flash up on screen again and go, oh, yeah, I remember that person, like, you know, and kind of looking back at the pictures, and yeah, amazing feeling.
And what better way to find a new favourite beer?
I think it's something that people don't know that they can do, visit the breweries without having to drive, which is always a bonus. All your beer tasters are included, and plus just getting the experience, because we do have really good relationships with the venues that we go to, and so getting the chance to talk to people behind the bar, getting the chance to ask questions, and just kind of getting a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes experience.
As well as locations in the CBD, Brisbane was producing plenty of hidden gems.
Yeah, well, it's easy to walk around the CBD and visit a few of the places that are nearby or easy to catch on public transport. But our tours visit a lot of the venues that are a little bit further out, so places you might not see just on a regular day wandering around the city. So getting people into more of these hidden suburbs and finding these undiscovered gems that they might not be able to reach by themselves, or if they do come out here on their own, then they do have to drive and can't really enjoy it quite as much.
By 2021, yet another venue was up for discovery off the beaten path, as the Lost Palms crew had established a now thriving tap house in Brisbane's southwest suburb of Sherwood. At 120 square metres, the venue was the perfect size for catering to craft beer fans in the up-and-coming area. Smithy had been put to work with his carpentry skills to fit out the building in true Lost Palms style, and the full range of beers were on tap. While on the other side of the city, another Gold Coast brand had also made inroads into a Brisbane postcode. The Black Hops crew had been rumoured to be taking up Brisbane market share for quite some time when their East Brisbane tap house finally opened. With their famed product lineup, encapsulated with the classic rustic flair of the Black Hops aesthetic, the venue had no trouble attracting regular patronage. A small mezzanine provided a private function area and the perfect overview of the action. And, as always, the Black Hops range made it difficult to choose takeaways. But I had recently found a new favourite in the East Coast Haze, and had seen more than enough to ease my curiosity about the Lost Palms and Black Hops Brisbane offerings.
I don't know if I'd say that people get a kick out of it, but I think people are just walk away going, I had no idea there was so much to learn. I mean, I think people get a kick out of the horror stories, you know, when you tell the worst tour you ever had and that kind of stuff. But I think it's one of the things that people love is getting to meet people involved with the brewery. There's a VIP aspect to that, which is something we try and achieve. So I think people walk away with that idea of, oh, I got to meet the brewer, or I got to meet this person. There's definitely a feeling of excitement around that, and yeah, feeling a little bit special that they answered your question, because people can ask us questions all the time, and 9 times out of 10 I'll have the answer. If I don't, I have brewers on speed dial that I can, you know, quickly get the answer for them. It doesn't mean as much sometimes coming from me because I don't brew, I don't have my own brewery, but I can say the same thing 10 times over. But as soon as one of the brewers or one of the owners reinforces that, I go, oh yeah, that's when it really sneaks in. So I think people really get a kick out of that kind of behind the scenes aspect of our tours.
When it came to producing the actual beer for the market, there was no such thing as just going with the flow. Some real concentrated effort had to be made.
We've definitely experienced a lot of growth in the short time that we've been operating. We attribute a lot of that to our determination to kind of race to the top, but also our dedication to making sure that we're producing a beer that people want to try. And also, I think people are really engaged by our story and the fact that we're so willing to share that. We're not just some faceless brand selling a product. We're also, you know, people behind that, and I think people find that really interesting.
By mid-2021, Black Hops Bigger Waters had become home to one of the top craft beer production sites in Queensland, and it was time for me to reassess the situation all over again.
Mate, it was 2 years ago, we stood in that room and you were bragging about having some of the biggest tanks in Queensland. It was only 3 tanks. Mate, what you've got in there now is far beyond whatever I could ever imagine. Is it what you saw back then?
Did I say that? That doesn't sound like me.
No. I encouraged you to brag, it's fine.
Oh mate, no, we set out with a pretty ambitious dream with Black Hops that started off in some very humble beginnings. And yeah, 2 years ago, we just recently opened the doors to our new production site here at Bigger Waters. And 2 years later, I'm glad to say we're still here, still making beer. And we've grown a fair bit, and we've got a few more tanks out there.
So at the time, your business model catered to that. That's where you saw you were going, or not?
I think to say that was all part of our big plan would be a little bit arrogant of us. I think, you know, any small business that thinks that they've got it all sorted out for the next 5 years is being a bit naive. It's important to have goals and aspirations, but one of the most important things about being a small business is your ability to switch and change along the way. And the past couple of years in the Australian beer market have certainly shown that that's been something that's been very powerful for us.
In the meantime, a special vision from Govs had now become a regular occurrence.
When we first opened HQ 6 years ago nearly now, we had a first ambitious little goal of selling our first pallet of beer. And I remember when we did it, I said to the boys that, you know, one day we'll fill a semi-trailer. And they kind of laughed it off, but that's just part of my nature. I'm a big dreamer, and I'm pretty excited to say that late last year we filled our first semi, and we're about to fill another one right now.
And these days, they just kept coming.
Yeah, now it seems like part of the weekly routine. Truck that big comes in and drives off full of your beer.
Yeah, it's become the norm for us, which is pretty cool to say that we're putting a lot of beer out there. It's making its way all around the country now, which we're really excited. There's not many cities that we can go to that we can't find Black Ops somewhere on the shelf or on tap.
But in between more beer and more trucks, Black Ops had another challenge. More packaging.
So the next big milestone here, which I don't know, maybe be the sort of crowning jewel, is your new canning machine.
Yeah, the next big project for us is upgrading our canning line. So part of managing production capacity is looking at different areas and where the bottlenecks are lying, or where we're seeing constraints in our efficiencies. And for us at the moment, we've got excellent brewing capacity on our brew house, our cellar. We've got lots of floor space to put in even more tanks. However, our canning line is starting to get to the point where it's getting worked around the clock. So at the beginning of this year, we underwent the process of sourcing a new canning line, which is currently getting made in Italy, and we hope to receive it in the coming months. And that'll increase our capacity from about 65, 70 cans per minute up to 250. So it's a big jump up, but it's an investment in our future and our growth.
Growth that was being calculated with careful consideration.
What's your capacity in literage out there now?
Our capacity in literage at the moment is a bit of a moving target, but it's sitting somewhere between 2.5 and 3 million litres a year.
What do you want to actually get to with the...
What's our target?
Yeah.
Volume? Oh, look, you're asking the guy that...
Someone, I just seem to remember someone saying going from 2 million to 4 million a year. Is that realistic? Is that someone ever throw around that number, or am I hearing it wrong?
I mean, they're all, I guess realistic is a relative term, depending on your ability to sell it. I can certainly make 4 million litres a year, or we can make 6. We have a site here that we could potentially build beyond 10, 15 million litres a year. But we obviously need to have a lot of resources and infrastructure in place to be able to sell that beer, and hopefully there's enough people out there that want to drink it.
There's another one coming in. They're battling for space out there, mate.
Yeah.
But even careful calculation couldn't help with the traffic conditions in the loading zone. And more machinery also meant more staff. Along with the Black Ops ever-expanding crew, one of my old work colleagues from the liquor retail industry had joined the ranks and was now the man in charge of getting all that beer packed and stacked.
I started at Black Ops 2.5 years ago. I came in as a casual. I worked canning line, delivery, tap room, anywhere I could just to get involved in this business. I'm packaging manager here at Black Ops. I run a team of 10 people roughly. We basically take the beer out of the tank and put it into cans, kegs, ensuring that it's the best quality we can and fresh as we can.
Chambo, as he was affectionately known, made it sound simple. And with plans for more sophisticated machinery, Chris's job might have been about to get easier.
So far from what we know, this current canning line is an inline filler, 4-head, does about 60 cans a minute.
However, it still sounded like there was going to be a lot of responsibility.
The new line will be a rotary filler. It'll do about 250 cans a minute. So we'll be pumping out at least 27,000 heck a day.
Black Ops would soon move past the tedious manual packaging routine that had gotten the crew this far, moving to complete packaging automation. And like me, Chris had seen the changes at the other end of the ride, as craft beer started flying off the shelf.
Well, before working at Black Ops, I worked in the coffee shop industry, and going from seeing your generic commercial brands to 4 or 5 years ago that started to now, craft beer it's the beer to drink, nothing else really. So it's growing, it's ever evolving. What people can do with beer now that you couldn't years ago is amazing.
And as well as bragging about the industry in general, Chambo remembered his 1-year anniversary brew like it was yesterday.
That's something special. Not just having a beer named after me, but having a beer named after me made by Australia's #1 brewery currently is pretty special. I also got a good beer, Blood Orange IPA, which is pretty delicious. 440ml can, which most people don't get to do, so I was pretty spoiled, but what do you do?
I guess you don't have much choice but to enjoy the fact that those big cans last a little longer. "2021 was flying by in the blink of an eye, and before I knew it, it was crafted time all over again. With a camera operator on hand, I was about to see what this epic event might have up its sleeve this year. One thing was for sure, it continued to deliver. Here at Broadbeach's Kurrawa Park, COVID felt like it was a world away. A record crowd had gathered to frolic and feast on all that a combination of craft beer and world-class event management had to offer.
I'll go sit down, Norris.
As expected, there were plenty of familiar faces, while Beer Yoga had a new head of the class, and some new recruits to initiate into the fine art of striking a balance.
Happy little babies out in the audience at the festival today.
Good attitudes and great beer were met with a definite feeling of relief, as COVID restrictions had threatened to rear their head again in recent weeks. But that was soon forgotten, as my mission to tick certain beers off my list got underway.
Don't find smoking, go around the carbon.
It wasn't long before evening set in, and I was on the way to finding out who would be award winners this year, as Brisbane indie rocker Semantics wrapped up on the stage. It was 2 new brands welcomed into the Crafted Award winners fold.
The winner of the People's Choice Best Brew of the Festival goes to Precinct Brewery! Yeah, and the beer that won it was the Festival Ale! Brilliant!
And Brewer's Choice?
Yeah! Newcomers! Good job, guys, here's your prize.
This meant only one thing. 2 brands that had been on my radar for a little while were now up for interviews.
This is awesome.
Before I met those new faces, I needed to head back to Brisbane to hear about a recent change in the Slipstream lineup. Deal was looking very much at home in his newly renovated surroundings. And the product catalogue had continued to expand, with some that reflected his initial inspiration for the brand. And while a key figure in Slipstream's inception had recently moved on, Deal had quickly found an equally passionate new head brewer.
Yeah, so it was Ian's time to move on, and we were able to continue production, obviously, with the skills that we had built up in the team, and then search for somebody with a different set of skills to take us forwards, I guess, for the next few years at least. The real focus on quality, product flavour improvement, product stability and improvements, and real that continuous improvement model, and a real fresh set of eyes, I suppose.
And some pretty good credentials to go with them.
Been brewing for 5 years now. I'm a biochemist by trade. I did a post-graduation at Federation University in Ballarat, which is the graduate certificate in brewing. Before Slipstream, I was brewing at Green Beacon, and before then, Newstead.
Bert's going strong, yeah. He's hit the ground running, of course. He's come from some other larger breweries. Got a lot of experience there, got a good QC background. He's got a degree in biochemistry.
That couldn't hurt now, could it?
He's sort of, I think, well placed to really take us forwards and take us to the next level, and hopefully we can continue to kick goals.
Well, it seemed like that would be the case.
What excites me about this role is it's a blank canvas, there's a lot of possibilities. You can create your beers, try different things. Obviously the owners like hop forward beers, but they're open to suggestions and ideas, and we have a little pilot system there that you can do batches from 200 to 300 litres and brew all sorts of wonderful stuff.
I guess that was some of the quality control that Deal had mentioned earlier.
I guess we've continued to maintain our core range. Done some small batches. I guess some of our limited releases are planned a long way out. Some of the recent ones, our West Coast IPA Tour series and our latest fruit card have sort of been in the pipeline, which Bert's sort of taken over the production of. Every approximately 3 months we'll launch a new flavour of sour. This one's peach, the last one was feijoa, before that was guava, and the next one's going to be cherry.
And while Deal was settled into the new tap house, what about the locals?
Yeah, we've had an amazing response from this venue. I guess we set out with the aim of creating a third space for our local patrons. Those people that had sort of supported us in our previous venue, which was a lot smaller. We wanted to really create a world-class offering, really expand the demographic that we market to. And it's really become like the jewel in our crown, I guess. We're getting a lot of people through here and introducing them to the Slipstream brand.
And if taking on this role wasn't enough, Bert seemed like he'd do a pretty good job of keeping himself busy.
If you could go and brew your dream beer right now, what would it be?
My dream beer, it is a tough one. I have too many that I love. I'm actually very fond of hazies, hazy pale, hazy IPA. I think there's many out there, but not too many are actually well brewed. We actually brewed one last week, Henry's recipe. It's a winner. It's really good. Last time it sold out pretty quickly. That's actually what's last been brewed in a pilot. I would like to work more on that. Stronger hazies as well. Actually lighter ones too, Low alcohol beers, low alcohol ales and lagers for that matter. Yeah, there's a lot to explore.
So although he might have his work cut out for him, it seemed like Bert would get all that done in a roundabout way. Back at Burleigh Brewing, it was just more of the usual goings-on. Brennan was steadily moving forward with his improvements for the brand's production. More awards had been won, and the tap house had recently hosted one of Australia's most unique sporting events.
So you've been brewing now for how many years?
If my math is correct, it's 35 years. It's the life passion.
Yeah.
So it's not like that, I started brewing yesterday.
No, he definitely didn't start yesterday, and all that experience came with some very notable results.
So you won a pretty significant award this year. Twisted Palm got right to the top of the beer food chain.
Yes. Twisted Palm, I think, has been around for around 5 years, and it was that lighter style Australian pale ale. Unlike a lot of Australian beers, it's filtered. We like nice, clean, crisp flavors. And I think it's one of the fundamental things of making good beer is knowing, not all styles have yeast in them.
But winning this prize wasn't as straightforward as just making a good beer.
Well, the funny thing about this competition is they have a pale ale category, so you can put in English or American or Australian or Belgian, any kind of pale ale you want across this huge category. And then they take all the gold medals that win in those categories, and there may be several golds that win in one category. But anyway, they put all however many beers together, and then they say, this one that won a gold is better than all the other ones that won a gold, and so that's the champion. And that's 43 countries.
While I was here, I wanted to talk about some champions a little bit closer to home. And the Burleigh marketing manager sat down to tell me about their version of a skateboarding competition.
I missed out on keg jump again this year.
Missed out.
Tell me, how good is this event?
It's awesome. It's really unique, and there's not many breweries around the whole world doing skate events in the brewery, and so we're one of them. This event attracts some of the best skaters around the country, and there's two parts to the event. So there's a best trick event, and then there's also the keg jump. The best trick event, we gave away $2,000 in cash, and I think there was 22 cartons of beer. So each skater who performed a great trick was then given an envelope that had cash and a beer ticket, so they could redeem it at the end of the night.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And we affiliate with a lot of local partners too, so Precinct Skate Shop, Slam Magazine and the Skateboarders Journal, and they come and judge the event. And then, the finale is really laying out Burleigh Brewing kegs and seeing how many kegs they can jump over. And we had two locals who took it out who jumped over 11 kegs in the end.
A draw.
A draw, yeah. So they both got the Golden Growler trophy. And then, there was a cash prize, and they also split beer for a year. So we dropped off 12 cartons of beer to each of their locations, which is pretty cool.
It might all look like fun and games, but I know from lots of skateboarding experience that winning this comp was a pretty big deal.
So being a skateboarder myself, I know it's quite a difficult setup in there. There's not a lot of run-up. How do the skateboarders react to the event? What's their feedback?
It's a challenge for them, and they enjoy it, and it's such a great night too. They're coming from all over. It's a big celebration of skateboarding and craft beer, so the two align very naturally. And they love it, to be honest.
A lot of skateboarders will tell you it's a match made in heaven. And the Burleigh team were getting pretty good at putting arts and crafts together.
Yeah, so this year we're going to be inviting 15 local artists, so they'll be coming here on Saturday the 13th of November and exhibiting all their artwork. And we have two prizes, so a People's Choice Award and then the Judges Award as well. And so they'll sort of go around and select what they think subjectively is the best artwork. And we'll be offering $6,000 in prize money, which is really cool. So it's super nice to sort of be supporting the arts community at this time and giving back to the community.
There was all sorts of movement at this brewery and all sorts of challenges to go with it.
I think the other big thing for you this year has been taking a section of the roof off just to bring more equipment in.
We had the roof off 3 times this year. One was to get our malt silos out and get those outside to create more room on the inside where we're pouring 270 square meters of new slab, where we're going to receive some more tanks. We've got 6 more tanks coming this year, and we just put in 3 earlier this year. So when we first made the space in here, we made it for expansion. And so we poured 550 square meters of concrete, and we've been filling the space since we moved in October 2015. So that's 6 years now. So we filled up the last 3 spaces. So we put in 2 more 30,000 liter fermenters and 1 40,000 liter bright beer tank. And so now on the way, they'll be coming in the next month, is 3 more 30,000 liter fermenters, another hot liquor and cold liquor tanks, and then another 10,000 liter kettle. So that means we'll have 2 5,000 liter kettles and 2 10,000 liter kettles, along with all the mash mixing gear, lauter tons, and then all the hot water tanks, hot and cold water tanks.
So we took on this facility in 2015, when we took on our warehouse in 2015. We just added a second warehouse down the way, which is all 100% refrigerated warehouse. And so now we have an acre under roof. So we have dry store, which is about 1,500 square meters. And, you know, we have a lot of, you know, packaging and grain and everything else going in and out. And then we have the all packaged product down there. We still have a cold room here, just not big enough.
You can only plan so far ahead with any brewery, I suppose. You know, when we moved down here 6 years ago, it took me 18 months to plan out for a 5-year expansion. The way we designed the tanks in, instead of getting more 20,000 liters, we started putting in 30,000 liters. So we actually got about 50,000 liters more capacity than we anticipated, which is good. So that kind of got us through that next year. And one of the reasons we put in so much equipment is because we don't run 24 hours. We don't even run 18 hours. No, we're running 13 hours. And so we've got the people and the equipment to run nice and short. That way we run 2 shifts. One starts at 6, one starts at 11. You guys end at 7. Get out of here, go home, have a life. No one's doing shift work. Nobody's getting calls at midnight. You know, what we're trying to do is a very family-friendly, well laid out, well thought out brewery, thinking about its 81 employees.
One thing was for sure, despite the name on this award-winning beer, Brennan had his priorities straight. Not too far down the road, just a stone's throw from the Black Ops headquarters, it was time for me to meet one of this year's Crafted Award winners.
So my background in brewing started about 14 odd years ago, mostly out of interest of homebrewing. I started brewing at home, went through heaps of different homebrew kits, loved building the kits. My background was in sciences for about 7 years, environmental engineering consulting. It was a lot of like air emission testing. Lots of playing with little technical instruments, things like that, going to different sites, traveling a fair bit. Was lucky enough to get picked up on a production intake at Stonewood Brewing, and I was down there for about 4 and a bit years, and then started a precinct.
Including the obligatory search for the perfect location.
Took quite a long time. We looked at a few different buildings. COVID obviously was a huge one. The venue came about, 5 owners kind of got together and started discussing the concept of doing, a brew pub together. We looked at a couple of different sites over the course of, realistically a couple of years. We looked at some in other spots around Miami, but this building became available. Basically, one of the other owners, Tom, he was had an existing relationship with the landowner. So it was a panel beating shop before we were in here. We've obviously turned it into a brew pub. That process took something like, I think it was the best part of 2 years. A lot of going through council submissions. It was quite, reasonably complicated. There was like material change of use on the land and things like that to get it all approved. Luckily, the landowner was on board and really keen to get something like this in here. So that really helped us out a lot. Yeah, it must have been close to about 2 years in total from the day we secured more or less this building until we opened up the doors.
The building was right, but what about the address?
No, it was absolutely made for it. So there was really only a couple of little places that we were looking at. Obviously, Black Ops is part of this little area as well. So it is the right kind of land use to be able to do something like this in there. So, you know, a mixture of industry, and it's close enough to, you know, the Gold Coast Highway and things like that people can access it easily as well. Once we'd secured it and started building it, it really just kept getting better and better in a lot of ways. So all the rest of Miami's kind of got lots of cool things in here now. So there's Grando Jack's just over the back of our fence. Black Ops, Hard Fizz is in here now as well. It was the right land use in the right area, close to things. You know, we're only a short stroll to Burleigh. It was about 5 months of actual construction work. So there was a heap of work that had to go into the building, including structural steel around the walls, lots and lots of plumbing. So, you know, a huge portion of the floor was ripped up to allow all the brewery plumbing to go in. The equipment itself is actually quite fast. So I think the fun start was from the day that our containers arrived on the ground here, we were open 7 weeks later with beer brewed on both systems.
The building itself had required a lot of finessing.
So a lot of these older buildings were built to different building codes, I suppose. So from my understanding is that there wasn't a lot of core filling done and a lot of that block work. And so for us wanting to change some of the window framing and things like that and put some other roller doors and stuff in, we basically just kind of took the proactive approach and put some steel around there. You can kind of see it between the beams there. So it's quite an ordeal getting it up there and in, but we just kind of wanted to make the building as secure as possible.
Engineering and a bit of sparky work told me that Jeremy was another brewer who wore more than one hat.
Running repairs, mate.
One of the many fixes that goes on. If there's one thing for sure in brewing is that equipment's going to break on you or give you trouble. So being able to troubleshoot stuff on the fly, especially when a batch of beer is, you know, time sensitive on the day when you're doing it. So it's great to be able to kind of fix things as you go, and just having an understanding around technical numbers, things like that, really helps kind of scale things a lot more easily.
No explosions? Nothing yet.
So our capacity, we've got a couple brew houses. The main brew house is 12 hectolitres, and then there's a little 3 hectolitre pilot kit. We can do about 200,000 litres a year annually. So coming into December now, we're just about at that kind of production rate. We're flat out, but when it comes to winter, we'll dip down again.
And how did it feel to win that award?
It was quite unexpected in a lot of ways, really. So it was kind of our first foray into events, and we consciously chose Crafted to be the first one that we attended. And luckily the guys that run Crafted were good enough to reach out to us and kind of want to do a beer with us. So we did put a lot of effort and everything into it, but to win that on the first outing is kind of, yeah, no words for it really. It was great. There was a whole lot of celebrations. You can kind of see the award actually hanging in between the brew house at the back there. So yeah, it was fantastic, mate.
Also newcomers to a Crafted award, the next brand I was about to meet was founded by 2 people who were by no means newcomers to brewing. Located on the central Gold Coast, their new brewery and tap house would be a big step forward from their last means of production. With the product catalogue brimming with traditional European-style brews, they were set to stand out for more reasons than one. And it all came with a very homegrown backstory. At Matic Brewing in Ashmore, another husband and wife team had recently completed the fit-out on their new taproom. And it was a far cry from the suburban garage where the Australian leg of their international brewing journey had begun.
I'll tell you the whole story. My first beer. Must have been a Hoegaarden, so a Belgian wheat beer. I do remember it that my brother offered it to me, and I still remember it as a very smooth, soft introduction to beer, and I really enjoyed it, and that's where the whole journey started.
And what about your husband?
My first beer, it's a hard one. I actually have two beers in mind. One of the beers is a cherry beer. Legal drinking age in Belgium is 16. So when you're young and you're actually going out on 16 and you're ordering a beer, your palate is not evolved that much, so you want something sweeter. And the other one, it's like, and that's a bit of sacrilege, it's a lager, Jupiler, but we mix it then with Coca-Cola. And we call it a mazout. And mazout is actually kind of a bit of dialect for diesel oil.
Sounded like time for an oil change, or time to start a brewery in Australia.
Is it co-founder? It's, yeah, well, I owner-operator. It all started with, of course, the love of beer, the love of Belgian beer, and then we had some friends that were into the home brewing already, and Jimmy and I, we were like looking for something that we could really do together, and we started on a small brewmaster at first in our little garden shed at the back of our property, and we just had that common interest. Then it led to experimenting and brewing more and more, and here we are today.
A lot of work had gone into preparing this building as a brewery, and it was a family affair. Although you might not know it on paper.
Annelies didn't take my last name. It's not a common thing in Belgium. My kids are Van Eetvelde as well. Yeah, it's a bit strange for Australia. So yeah, my name is Jimmy Van Eetvelde. It's like eating from the fields.
Yes, there was a lot more to Jimmy and Annalisa's story than met the eye. And I wasn't going to be the one to sleep on it.
You know how I told you we were growing? I wasn't kidding. Fine-tuning, getting that repeatability.
That other breweries should look at what they really want to be, whether they're going to be a production brewery or just a brew pub.
So we're planning out years in advance for this growth.
At the time, I was numb. I was completely numb. How do you feel about it?
We've worked really fucking hard to get to that stage.
It's been a challenging year, regardless, with COVID and the weather events and everything. But it is what it is. We managed to go full steam ahead, and every month we see that we are growing and we are getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I mean, to the naked eye, it looks like a bumper crop.
Yeah, my learning curve is like this.